The aroma of garlic and sizzling butter filled my small food truck as I carefully plated another order of my signature seafood pasta. 3 years at Le Cordon Bleu and a decade in Michelin-starred restaurants had taught me that even street food deserved perfect presentation. "Order for Sarah," I called out, watching another satisfied customer's face light up at the first bite. This was why I'd left the corporate world. Real people, real food, real satisfaction. My phone buzzed for the 10th time today. Mother again. I already knew what she wanted. My sister Victoria's wedding was tomorrow, and they were desperate to minimize the family embarrassment I represented. James Chen. My mother's crisp voice cut through the busy lunch rush when I finally answered. "Your sister's wedding is the social event of the year. The governor will be there. The Liu family will be there. You cannot possibly think of attending as, she couldn't even say it. As a food truck owner, Mom, I finished for her. Don't worry, I got Victoria's message. I know my role." Good, she sighed with relief. The catering staff entrance is on the west side of the Grand Plaza. Be there at 2 p.m. sharp. And James, please don't tell anyone you're related to us. The irony almost made me laugh. If they only knew that their embarrassment of a son, who'd abandoned a respectable banking career to run a food truck, had secretly become the youngest director of First Orient Bank 6 months ago. Not that I told them. When the chairman, Mr. Wu, had approached my food truck one day, I thought he was just another customer. Instead, he'd recognized me from my previous banking career and had been following my successful investments and market analyses published anonymously online. Someone who understands both high finance and the struggles of small business owners, he'd said, "That's exactly what our board needs." The catch? My role had to remain confidential until the bank's major restructuring was announced next week. A restructuring that, coincidentally, would expose the massive fraud at my sister's finances investment firm. But today, as I closed up my food truck and changed into the white uniform of catering staff, I was just another server at my sister's $1 million wedding. The same sister who told everyone I'd had a mental breakdown when I quit banking to pursue my culinary dreams. The Grand Plaza Hotel was a showcase of excess. Ice sculptures, rare orchids, and champagne fountains filled the ballroom. The guests were a who's who of Asia's banking elite, many of whom had no idea they'd been secretly meeting with me in the boardroom for months. "James," Victoria's voice dripped with disdain as she spotted me arranging canapés. Her wedding dress probably cost more than my food truck. "Try not to embarrass us, and stay away from the main room when the Liu family arrives." I told them my brother was in Europe managing investments. If she only knew I'd been analyzing the Liu family's suspicious accounts just yesterday. "Don't worry, sis, I'll stick to the kitchen." "See that you do. Oh God, is that grease on your sleeve? Just stay out of sight." She swept away to greet more guests, leaving me to my catering duties. I circulated with trays of appetizers invisible to the wealthy crowd except when they wanted something. Then Mr. Wu walked in. The bank chairman scanned the room, nodding at various dignitaries until his eyes found me. For a moment he looked confused seeing his new director serving canapés. I gave him a small shake of my head and continued working. But Victoria had noticed his attention. "Is something wrong, Mr. Wu?" she asked nervously. "Is the catering not to your standards?" "On the contrary," he smiled. "I was just surprised to see. Never mind. Congratulations on your marriage to young Mr. Liu. Though I'm curious, have you discussed the recent irregularities in his firm's accounts?" Victoria's face paled. I don't know what you mean." "No? Perhaps you should ask your brother. He seems quite knowledgeable about financial matters." "My brother?" Victoria forced a laugh. "James, he's just a failed banker who sells street food now. He doesn't know anything about finance anymore." Mr. Wu's eyebrows rose. "James is your brother? How interesting. I suppose next week's announcement will be quite a surprise for your family then." Before Victoria could respond, a commotion arose at the entrance. The Liu family had arrived, my future brother-in-law's parents, followed by their army of lawyers. Their faces were ashen, and I knew why. The bank's investigation into their son's Ponzi scheme had just concluded. I checked my watch. In exactly 1 hour, the regulatory authorities would arrive with their warrants. Victoria's perfect wedding was about to become the scene of her fiancé's arrest. Sometimes karma comes with a side of canapés. The Liu family's entrance shifted the atmosphere in the grand ballroom. Robert Liu, my sister's fiancé, pulled at his collar nervously as he watched his parents huddled with their lawyers in the corner. Even from my position serving champagne, I could see the panic in their eyes. "Everything needs to be perfect," Victoria hissed at me as she passed. "Robert's parents are acting strange. If you ruin this with your food truck embarrassment, I'll never forgive you." I nodded silently, continuing my rounds. My phone vibrated in my pocket. A message from Mr. Wu. "Authorities arriving in 45 minutes. Board meeting call for tomorrow morning. Your family will be quite surprised." Victoria's wedding planner was getting frustrated. "The Liu family is demanding to leave before dinner. This isn't part of a schedule." "They can't leave." Victoria grabbed Robert's arm. "What's going on? Why are your parents trying to run off to the airport?" I watched as Robert's face contorted with guilt. "Vicky, baby, there's something I need to tell you." But before he could continue, my mother interrupted. "James, stop standing around and serve the special reserve champagne. The toast is in 20 minutes. As I headed to the wine cellar, I heard raised voices from the Liu family's corner. Through the kitchen door, I could see Robert's father jabbing his finger at his lawyer's phones, his face turning purple. Sarah, one of the other servers, rushed up to me. "Mr. Chen, there's someone from the bank asking for you at the service entrance." "Which bank?" I asked, though I already knew. "First Orient. Says it's urgent." I made my way to the service entrance, where Ms. Wang, our head of security, waited with a team of auditors. "Director Chen," she whispered, "the authorities are in position. We've confirmed the Liu family is attempting to transfer assets offshore. Lock down their accounts," I ordered quietly. "All of them. And make sure the evidence is ready." "Already done, sir. Should we wait until after the toast?" I thought about Victoria's perfectly planned schedule, about all the times she and my parents had mocked my career choices, about Robert Liu's smirking comments about simple food vendors. No, I decided. Let's not let them enjoy another glass of champagne bought with stolen money. Everything happened at once. As I returned to the ballroom, federal agents entered through every door. Robert Liu's father saw them first and made a mad dash for the exit, only to find it blocked. "Robert Liu and Family Investments Leadership," an agent announced, his voice cutting through the shocked silence. "You're under arrest for fraud, money laundering, and operating a Ponzi scheme." Victoria's scream could probably be heard 3 blocks away. "What is happening, Robert?" Robert tried to run but didn't make it 3 steps before being handcuffed. His father was yelling about calling his connections at the bank, about how this was all a mistake. That's when Mr. Wu stepped forward. "Actually, the bank fully supports these arrests. We've been building this case for months under the direction of our newest board member." "What board member?" my mother demanded, trying to salvage some control of the situation. "We know everyone on First Orient's board." Mr. Wu smiled. "Do you? James, would you care to explain?" The room went completely silent as I stepped forward, removing my server's jacket to reveal my tailored shirt and tie underneath. "The bank appointed me as director 6 months ago," I said calmly. "We've been investigating the Liu family's fraud since then." Victoria staggered backward, her perfect designer dress wrinkling as she collapsed into a chair. No, this is impossible. James is just a food truck owner?" I finished for her. "Yes, I am. I'm also the youngest director in First Orient's history and the one who uncovered your fiance's $100 million fraud." "Brother," Robert tried, his hands cuffed behind his back. "We can work something out." Family? I laughed softly. "You and Victoria made it clear I wasn't good enough for your family. Maybe spend some time thinking about that in prison." My father stepped forward, his face a mix of confusion and dawning realization. "James, son, if we had known." "Known what, Dad?" "That I was successful, that I was powerful. Would that have made me worthy of respect? Or would you still have made me serve food at my own sister's wedding?" The authorities were leading the Liu family away. Victoria's perfect wedding had descended into chaos. Guests were quickly leaving, whispering among themselves about the shocking scandal. "The papers are going to love this," Mr. Wu commented beside me. "Bank director catches fraud while serving canapés at sister's wedding." I loosened my tie and rolled up my sleeves. "Speaking of food," I said, I believe I promised the board a special dinner for my food truck for after the arrest. But, but what about my wedding? Victoria sobbed. I paused at the door. Consider yourself lucky, sis. Better to be embarrassed at your wedding than to be arrested at it. Though I have to say, I smiled. The catering was excellent. The morning after Victoria's disastrous wedding, my food truck was surrounded by reporters. Bank director's secret life as street food vendor dominated every headline. Business news channels couldn't get enough of the story. The humble food truck owner who had brought down one of the city's biggest investment frauds while serving appetizers at his own sister's wedding. Mr. Chen, is it true you uncovered the fraud through conversations with small business owners? Will you continue running your food truck now that your banking position is public? I kept cooking, serving my regular customers who now had to wade through a sea of journalists to get their lunch. Mrs. Lee, who'd been coming for my laksa every Tuesday for 2 years, pushed past the TV crew with her usual determination. These people don't understand, she declared, accepting her steaming bowl. Your food is more important than any banking scandal. That made me smile. She was right. The simple joy of serving good food mattered more than all the media attention. My phone had hundreds of missed calls, mostly from family members who'd suddenly remembered how much they loved and supported me. Victoria had fled to a spa resort to recover from her trauma. Our parents were hiding from the press at their country club, desperately trying to spin the story. James. My mother's voice was strained when I finally answered her call. We need to talk about damage control. Your father's friends at the country club are asking questions. How could you humiliate us like this? Humiliate you? I kept working as I talked, expertly plating another order. Like you humiliated me by making me serve food at Victoria's wedding? Or like Robert humiliated our whole family by stealing millions? That's different. We were trying to protect the family's reputation. Having a son who runs a food truck. A food truck that earns more in a month than Victoria's luxury boutique makes in a year, I interrupted. Or did you not notice that either? The lunch rush was hitting its peak. I had to put her on hold to handle the orders. Through my truck's window, I could see more reporters arriving, along with a familiar black Mercedes. Mr. Wu stepped out, ignoring the journalist's questions as he walked to my truck. One signature laksa, please, he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. Still the best in the city. The reporters went crazy, snapping photos of the bank chairman ordering from his director's food truck. My mother was still holding on the phone, probably horrified. The board is impressed with how you handled everything, Mr. Wu said as I prepared his laksa. Though some are confused about why you still insist on running this truck. Because this is who I am, I replied, garnishing his bowl perfectly. Banking is what I do, but cooking is what I love. Why should I choose? He smiled, understanding. That's exactly why we wanted you on the board. You understand both worlds. The afternoon brought more surprises. Victoria appeared, her designer sunglasses failing to hide her red eyes. She stood in line like everyone else, enduring the whispers and stares. Hello, brother, she said when she reached the window. I suppose I should try your food, since apparently it's worth queuing for. I raised an eyebrow. No comments about how it's beneath you. She flinched. I deserve that. I deserve all of this. She looked around at the reporters, the crowds, the evidence of my success. I'm sorry, James, for everything. For thinking I was better than you because I married into money instead of earning it myself. Victoria, no, let me finish. When Robert was arrested, do you know what I realized? All those years I spent looking down on your choices, you were building something real, something honest, while I was dating a criminal because he had the right family name. I studied my sister's face, seeing genuine remorse for the first time in years. Wordlessly, I started cooking, preparing my signature seafood pasta, her favorite when we were kids, before status and appearances became everything. On a house, I said, handing her the perfectly plated dish. She took a bite, and tears welled up in her designer sunglasses. This is incredible. All this time you were actually following your dream, weren't you? While I was just following other people's expectations. The reporters were going wild, photographing the disgraced socialite eating at her brother's food truck. But Victoria didn't seem to care anymore, savoring each bite like she was rediscovering something she'd lost. You know, she said finally, Robert never once cooked for me. He said it was servants' work. And now they'll be eating prison food. I couldn't resist adding. To my surprise, she actually laughed. I guess I needed that reality check. We all did. As the afternoon wound down, Mr. Wu returned with several other board members. They set up an impromptu meeting right there at the tables outside my food truck, enjoying my cooking while discussing bank strategy. This is unprecedented, one director muttered. This is exactly what banking needs, Mr. Wu replied. Someone who remembers that finance should serve real people, not just profits. My mother called again, but this time her tone was different. Your father and I, we've been thinking. Would you cook for us? At home? We'd like to really taste what our son creates. I looked around at my little food truck, at the line of loyal customers mixed with curious reporters, at Victoria sitting quietly with her empty plate, at the bank directors enjoying their meal. How about this? I said. Come to the truck tomorrow. Stand in line like everyone else. Try your son's food the way it's meant to be served. There was a long pause. Yes, she finally whispered. Yes, we'll do that. As the sun set over the city, I started cleaning up, preparing for another day of balancing two worlds that everyone else thought couldn't coexist. But I knew better. Sometimes the best success stories are written in unexpected places, with unlikely combinations that nobody else imagines could work. 6 months after Victoria's wedding turned arrest scene, my food truck had become an unlikely symbol of authenticity in the financial world. Every morning, I attended board meetings at First Orient Bank, making decisions that affected billions in assets. Every afternoon, I served noodles and dumplings from my truck, making decisions that affected individual lives and families. Only in Singapore, the papers said, would you find a bank director who insists on personally cooking street food? The transformation in my family was even more remarkable than the media attention. My parents, who'd once been embarrassed by my food truck, now proudly brought their friends to try my cooking. They stood in line like everyone else, my one unbreakable rule. Your father actually bragged about you at the country club, my mother told me one afternoon, carefully eating her laksa. Not about the bank position, but about how you won the Street Food Masters competition last week. Victoria, meanwhile, had gone through the biggest change. After Robert's conviction, 15 years for fraud, she'd shocked everyone by enrolling in culinary school. I want to build something real, she'd said when I asked her why. Like you did. Today was special though. First Orient Bank was launching a new initiative, and we'd chosen my food truck location for the announcement. The press gathered eagerly as Mr. Wu approached the microphone we'd set up. Today, he began. First Orient Bank is proud to announce the Street Food Enterprise Fund, a $5 billion initiative to support local food vendors and small restaurateurs, headed by our director, James Chen. The crowd murmured with interest. But this isn't just another corporate program, Mr. Wu continued. Every loan application will be reviewed over a meal at the applicant's establishment. Our directors will eat where our money goes. I stepped forward, removing my suit jacket and putting on my cooking apron. Banking shouldn't just be about numbers, I said into the microphone. It should be about understanding the dreams and efforts of real people. Sometimes the best business discussions happen over a bowl of noodles. The program was my idea, born from countless conversations with fellow food vendors who had brilliant concepts but couldn't get traditional bank funding. Now they would have a chance. Victoria appeared at my truck's window. She traded her designer dresses for chef's whites, her culinary school uniform proudly worn. Ready for your first student, brother? That was the other part of the initiative. Every funded food business would receive mentoring from experienced vendors. Victoria would be my first apprentice, learning the business from the ground up. James, my father called out from the crowd. Your mother and I have an announcement too. They stepped forward, looking slightly nervous. We're converting the ground floor of our family building, Mom said. The one that's been collecting rent from luxury boutiques for 40 years. We want to turn it into a heritage food center. I stared at them stunned. The prime real estate they'd always bragged about being turned into a hawker center. If our son can be proud of serving street food, Dad continued, then we can be proud of preserving Singapore's food heritage. The reporters went wild. Banking fam si juzi is 8 or culture over high fashion would probably be tomorrow's headline. As the afternoon progressed, I watched my two worlds blend perfectly. Bank directors sat at plastic tables, discussing million-dollar deals over my signature dishes. Culinary students eagerly took notes as Victoria explained how to calculate food costs and profit margins. My parents proudly gave interviews about the importance of preserving traditional food culture. "You've started quite a revolution," Mr. Wu commented, enjoying his noodles. Who would have thought a food truck could change the banking industry? I smiled, preparing another order. Good food, like good banking, is about trust and dedication, about making something that truly serves people. Later that evening, after the crowds had gone, my family gathered around a table outside my truck. I cooked them a special meal, all their favorites that they'd once been too proud to eat in public. "I understand now," Victoria said softly, watching me cook. "Success isn't about looking important. It's about being important to people's lives." Mom wiped a tear, probably remembering all the times she'd begged me to quit the food business. "We were so wrong, James, so wrong about everything." "No," I corrected her, plating the final dish. "You were just looking at success from the wrong angle. Sometimes the best view isn't from the top of a banking tower, it's from a food truck window." Dad raised his glass. "To my son, who taught us that dignity isn't about what you do, but how you do it." As we ate together, surrounded by the night lights of Singapore, I thought about the journey, from the son they were ashamed of to the son they finally understood, from the brother Victoria looked down onto the brother she now wanted to learn from, from a banker who loved cooking to a cook who changed banking. My phone buzzed, another aspiring food vendor applying for the new program. Tomorrow, I'd review their application over a meal at their stall, making decisions that could change their lives while remembering exactly why I chose this dual path. Because sometimes the biggest impact comes from the smallest windows and the truest success stories are served one plate at a time.